What's going on, y'all? It's JD Pickell with On 3. Today on the Hard Count, we're going to take a look at the LSU quarterback derby. Welcome into the Hard Count, the people show for every single thing that you know and that you love about college football. It happens here on a nearly daily basis. Nick Brake does the heavy lifting. You can help drive the show by subscribing to the channel. That's all we ask. Nothing less, nothing more. That's it. So LSU has three options at the quarterback position. And Brian Kelly, being a first-year head coach, it is important for him to start off on the right foot, especially in game one against Florida State. We'll get to more on that later. But we're going to go down the list here after talking to some people close to LSU about all three of these guys: Myles Brennan, Jayden Daniels, Garrett Nussmaier. We're going to talk about the pros and the cons at the end of this video. I'm going to tell you how I think this race will ultimately shake out. So first and foremost, you have Myles Brennan, 6-year senior. He's gritty. He hasn't really been healthy his whole time at LSU, but he has stuck with this program under multiple head coaches. And as an LSU fan, you feel for Myles Brennan, right? Because he is the guy that has, like I said, stuck with the ship. No matter the condition, he has been there. He was there when Joe Burrow was there. He was there when Ed Orgeron was there. He has stuck through it at LSU. And he's proven at times, the biggest plus with him, he's proven he can be successful when he's healthy. He had 430 yards and 4 touchdowns against Missouri. But he's had some bad luck as well, injury-wise. It's the infamous story now, but breaking his arm after getting his flip-flop caught in some floorboards on a boat on a fishing trip just before fall camp. It's stuff like that where you're just like, gosh dang, man, kid can't catch a break. I mean, the kid's shown he can play. The kid has shown he's got some ability, but he just hasn't been able to stay healthy. And so the risk with him is that obviously there's the health concerns, right? But on top of that, of these three guys, he's the least mobile. And so what he would have to do in that scenario is that he's going to have to hang in there with some first-round pick coming down the pipe, ready to lay the wood and deliver a strike. Which in principle, it's easy to talk about. It's easy to talk about quarterbacks being tough as nails and hanging in there when there's pressure. But to do it in an SEC game, that's a whole nother beast. And so that would be something that's required of him. And oh, by the way, you have 5 new starters on your offensive line. So you're probably going to have to hang in there a lot more than you would like to. That's Myles Brennan. The second player we're going to talk about, Jayden Daniels, transferred from Arizona State, made headlines when there was that Twitter video going around about all his former teammates cleaning out his locker room and talking about how he wasn't any good. And that's a bad look for him. I don't love that. I think that says a lot about Arizona State. I think it says something about Jayden Daniels, as you know. I mean, I've said as much on different videos about LSU. So the biggest thing for Jayden Daniels right off the bat, you got to win the locker room, my guy. You have to be the guy who's going to lead this team. Because if this locker room isn't bought into you as the quarterback for their program, you have a hard time even getting this operation started. Now, physically, there's a lot to like about Jayden Daniels. Really explosive, adds a whole new element in the run game. One of the things they're concerned about with him right now, one of the risks involved with Jayden Daniels, is he's still trying to figure out this offense, obviously, and then in addition to that, what this offense requires of him, because it's new footwork. It is, in some regard, going to require more of him as a passer. It's new progressions. And so for him, can you be consistent? Can you consistently be the guy that's going to put the ball in the air and move the chains? Because we know he can run. We know they can run the read option with him, and Mike Denbrock, the new OC there, loves that about him. That's something they're going to want to do if he is the guy. But you have to be able to move the sticks throwing the football. It is a non-negotiable, especially with a guy like Kayshon Boutte, like Jack Besh. Those guys need to see the football. They need to have somebody that can throw them the football. So for Jayden Daniels, can you win over the locker room and you be a consistent passer for this offense to be able to move? And that's kind of why we're talking about this third guy, Garrett Nussmaier. The biggest plus for him that I've seen, at least, when you watch the spring game, the offense moves under Garrett Nussmaier. He had probably the most consistent spring by most accounts, had a really strong summer, was awarded top performer awards for things he did in the weight room and nutrition-wise. Like, when you talk about Garrett Nussmaier, he's just a guy that's done all the right things. Like, he has consistently checked every single box for this staff since the season ended last year. And so Garrett Nussmeier right now is the guy that I think has the most juice about him, has the most buzz around this program. There are a lot of people that are Garrett Nussmeier fans in-house at LSU. And so for him, I'm just interested to see how does he develop under this staff? How does he develop and take that next step as a quarterback? Because the concern with him is his gunslinger mentality. And that's a little bit of a two-sided coin because a lot of the great quarterbacks are gunslingers. A lot of the great quarterbacks, what makes them great is they have some gunslinger in them. Now where you hate that is when you start to be the gunslinger to the point where you throw the ball to the other team. Because Garrett Nussmeier so far in 4 games of action has 2 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions. So now it is a new staff. It's a new leaf for Garrett Nussmeier. He's a redshirt freshman, got a lot of football ahead of him. But the fact that he's made this a 3-horse race when a lot of people thought it was Jayden Daniels and Myles Brennan going for the job, the fact that he's now in this conversation should tell you a lot about Garrett Nussmeier in general. So that's the 3 of those guys. That's how this competition is shaping up in terms of the competitors. But our diagnosis here at the Hard Count is as follows. I've told you before, I think Myles Brennan is the safest pick. I think he's the safest pick to start game 1. So game 1, they play Florida State. Florida State, a team that's down right now, a team that is sort of licking their wounds a little bit. They got to find a way to get it done this year. Otherwise, Mike Norvell is out of there. LSU's got to beat Florida State. That's just the end of the matter. If they don't beat Florida State, they got problems. Myles Brennan, I think, is the safest, like I said, safest pick for game 1, probably your safest pick at quarterback, but I don't know that he's the same guy who finishes the year at LSU. Full transparency, I think there's a really good chance you see all 3 of these guys play. Jayden Daniels just offers too much with his legs to where you don't at least give him a shot at the job at some point. My feel on this is Garrett Nussmeier has so much momentum and has done so much for himself in this competition right now. I think by game 8, it's going to be his job. I believe that's Ole Miss. By Ole Miss, I think Garrett Nussmeier is the quarterback for the LSU Tigers. Now, I say all that because I think you see Jayden Daniels play. I think you see Myles Brennan play early. Again, I think he's your guy game 1. But when all the dust settles, when you give all 3 of these guys a crack at it, as this thing goes into the fall, Garrett Nussmeier, from what I've seen and from what the reports are saying, he moves the offense the best. Has the ability to move with his legs, is able to create plays and extend plays and get the ball to playmakers. He checks a lot of the boxes. And the fact that he's been able to continue that momentum from the spring into the summer, and it sounds like do a better job alleviating some concerns as the gunslinger, I think Garrett Nussmeier is the guy when it's all said and done. So it may not be super pretty from game 1 to game 8. It may not be picture perfect. It may not happen all at once. We've talked about that as well. Under this new staff, under Brian Kelly's new program, it might take a second and a half to get going. But ultimately, Garrett Nussmeier, in my opinion, is the guy to lead you forward into the future. That's it for us here on The Hard Count. We appreciate you tuning in. Subscribe to the channel. It helps us help you. That's all I'm going to say. We're going to keep the party rolling. We will see y'all next time. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.